Tellwise is excited to announce our integration with Microsoft Dynamics. The combination of Microsoft Dynamics and Tellwise creates a very, very powerful sales communication solution. In the next 5 to 7 minutes, I'm going to take you through the basics of what Tellwise does and show you a fairly comprehensive demo of how it can operate within a typical sales environment and how it integrates with Microsoft Dynamics. Let's get started. First of all, one of the biggest challenges that most sales organizations have is actually communicating with their customers and prospects and doing that on a very consistent basis. Engagement is a very, very difficult thing these days to achieve, and once you get that engagement, it's very important to be able to measure it, track it, and learn from it over time in terms of what's working and what's not working. Most organizations today operate very much as a black hole. Most sales communications go into the black hole, and there's very little visibility as to what's actually happening. Tellwise changes all of that. When you think about your communication channel with the customer today, there are a number of very powerful communication channels that you use to communicate with that customer that don't actually end up in your CRM system. You get very little visibility into what's actually happening. So for example, you use email, phone, chat, live presentation, social channels, all to communicate with the customer, but very little of that information is actually made available in CRM. And more importantly, the experience for the seller can sometimes be quite awkward across all of those siloed experiences, and they tend to be dedicated applications. Tellwise takes the model and changes it fairly dramatically. In the Tellwise world, we have integrated all of the major communication channels, email, phone, chat, presentation, into a single technology that we call the Tellwise Universal Communicator. And we make that technology available in the places where sellers work today, like Outlook, like Gmail, within Dynamics, within list building tools like Discover.org. All of those places where they spend time, they can now call, email, instant message, do live presentations, all of the things that they need to do very, very easily. And because we're able to provide this aggregated capability, we can also provide rich analytics about what's actually working and not working and synchronize that information back into Microsoft Dynamics. The way that we do this is by having an application framework that we've integrated into a number of different applications. It provides a real-time feed of everything your customers are doing once you've started to communicate with them, an ability to call them, email them, instant message them, and also allows you to synchronize data from other places into Dynamics. So for example, if you're working in a list building tool, again like a Discover.org, we will immediately take that data and synchronize it into Dynamics for you. And I will show you all of this in the demo in a moment. In this demo scenario, I'm going to do a lot of things, but in a very short amount of time to just show you how powerful the platform actually is. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to operate from within Outlook, and we're going to create a new tracked campaign. And then we're going to start to see how that campaign is tracked within Outlook, within Dynamics, and a few other places to show you the consistent view that we give a salesperson no matter which application they're operating in. Then we're going to have the customer actually start to interact with that content. They're going to open an email, start to interact with some attachments, and we'll be able to see what it is they're doing and be able to start to interact back with that customer. Initially via instant messaging, and then we'll get more sophisticated and actually move into a call, maybe even a live presentation, again from Outlook, from Dynamics, and other places to show you how easily it can be done. We might get into a live sharing situation, and then finally, we're going to show all of this data and how it surfaces itself in Microsoft Dynamics. So a lot to show in a very short amount of time, so let's get started. Okay, let's go ahead and get started within the Outlook environment. You can see the Tellwise integration over here on the right-hand side, and it's integrated very nicely within Outlook to allow me to see a live feed of everything that my customers are doing. From within Outlook, I can call the customer, I can instant message with them, I can view their LinkedIn information. There's a variety of things that I can do directly from within Outlook. I can also launch new, what we call smart messages, that's a tracked campaign, from within Outlook using these compose and reply buttons. I will come back to that in a moment. However, I can also move over to Dynamics, and you'll see that same live feed available to me here in Dynamics. This will allow me to call, instant message, again, view LinkedIn information directly from my Dynamics screen, or if I'm using a list building tool like Discover.org, same thing. I can see my live feed, call, do all the interactions I need to with my customers. But we also integrate with Discover.org to view contacts. So as you're running Discover.org reports, we can call, email, and view detailed information on those people. all that information is synchronized automatically for me as a seller into Dynamics. There's nothing more for me to do, both the contact information and the activity information. Okay, let's start a campaign from Outlook. So we're going to use our Compose button, and we're going to go ahead and select an email template. We can create something from scratch if we want, or we can use a template. We're going to go ahead and select a user that we're actually going to start this campaign off to. And then we'll start to see the interaction pattern that we actually have with this user and how we can be much more responsive and how it is we work with our customers and also learn from their interaction patterns. So now I've sent that message. You'll see it there in my live feed. There's obviously no activity on it yet, but that will come soon. So let's go ahead and also show you the prospect experience. So this is the customer, and to keep things interesting, we'll show you the customer experience on a phone. So here's that email. They'll go ahead and open it, and you'll see immediately on the right-hand side, I start to get some tracking information letting me know how that messaging is actually being opened and being interacted with. The prospect looks like a normal email. They can also click on the attachments, and this is where some very unique things happen. Tellwise creates a live landing page for every message that's sent through the platform. And that live landing page allows for a lot of interesting collaborative interactions. So for example, the customer can interact with the content, the seller knows they're there, and now we can start to do some things like actually instant message with each other. And you can use this in a variety of ways. But what you're seeing here is the seller on the right-hand side sending the buyer an instant message, and you'll see the notification there for them to view that message. And when they do, they get dropped immediately into this instant messaging type situation. So the buyer in this case is going to instant message back, and now we've seamlessly transitioned from email to instant messaging. And to make it more interesting, of course, the buyer's actually on a phone, and you'll see the system actually works very, very seamlessly to do that. Now, a typical scenario at this point is you've got the buyer's attention. You actually want to talk to them. You want to get them on the phone. Well, no problem. Tellwise, within a few clicks, can actually go ahead and call them. Now, in this case, I'm actually using Skype as my own personal phone. And the way the Tellwise system works is it calls your number, in this case Skype, but it can be any other, it could be a cell phone, it could be any number. And then from there, allows me to connect to my customer. This is very flexible. It allows me to create sophisticated dialing lists where I may want to call large numbers of customers, but it also works in the one-on-one situation. So now I've gone ahead and I've called this prospect. Interestingly, I've done this all from Outlook, by the way, and I can do this from other places. The prospect is still within our smart message. I've now got them on the phone, and let's say we want to take this conversation a little bit further, and I actually want to, while I've got their attention, present them a slide deck. Very simply, we click on our live sharing option, which allows us to invite the recipient, as you'll see over on the left-hand side on the phone there, and there's been no software involved, no additional software involved in any of this. Now where we are is we're talking on the phone, and the seller is actually walking the buyer through a slide deck. This will work on small screens, big screens. It really doesn't matter as long as we have a relatively modern browser. The Tellwise platform can do this. So to reiterate, we just went from email to instant message to a phone call to live presentation completely frictionlessly. Once we hang up this call, the system will ask for some call results to be logged. Let's go ahead and close down some of the calls, and we could actually provide some call results, and all of this information is going to go directly into Dynamics. So for a seller, it's extremely flexible for me to operate in whatever environment that I need to operate, and I can still be responsive for my customers and with my customers. And most importantly, having all that information then also synchronized into Dynamics. Now, I could have done everything that I just showed you, which I showed you from Outlook. I could also do from Dynamics. I could have called the customer from here again through our universal communicator. As you can see here, I won't complete this call, but you'll see I could do the exact same thing directly from the Dynamics environment if I wanted. I could also do this same thing from Discover.org if I wanted, and a number of other places where Tellwise is already integrated. Gmail, and there's a number of different list tools where we're already integrated as well. So if I come back to the Dynamics environment now, and I go ahead and refresh, we will also see that all of the data from the interaction that we've just been doing has been automatically synchronized into Dynamics for me. So if we go to the contact, in this case, and we go to the activity list, you will see, once we click on activities here, you will see at the very top there the most recent activities, including the content of that activity back and forth between the seller and the buyer. So that shows you sort of end to end how we started a campaign, had a very interactive session with the customer, had all of that information synchronized into Dynamics, and did it with very, very little effort. Now we also have very rich data here, which we want to surface in terms of business intelligence, but we'll save that for another session. Thanks for watching.